I did not, because I don't have to.
I have to. We got people hanging out. All right. All right, it's 11/11. Remember Armistice Day.
Yep.
Actually, I got an opening bit then.
Now you have an opening bit?
I'll talk about Armistice Day. All right. It's Wednesday, November 11th, 2020. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is GeekNights. Tonight, we are reviewing the anime Deca-Dence. You know, it's been 1,000 years since March, and like the date doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Like it never matters what day it is. Like I gotta look like, oh, what fucking day is it when I'm gonna say it at the start of a Geek Night?
Saturday or a Sunday.
It matters what day of the week it is. It does not matter what the number is on the day.
No, because of this, the calendar only matters for special events, and if all special events are canceled, then why does it matter what the calendar day is, right?
Yep.
It's not going to be PAX. It's not going to be a holiday. You know, it's like, oh, it'll be Thanksgiving, but you won't be doing anything. So what does it matter, right? It's just another Thursday.
Exactly. So,
do I have to work from home or just stay at home?
But I noticed just now that today is 11/11, which is a holiday. Not that it matters to us, especially in America. People barely celebrate Veterans Day or Armistice Day.
Different Veterans Day and
but Armistice Day has a weirdly tragic story. I learned a lot about World War I because I'm weird. I mean, I like that. And World War I is a complex tapestry of bullshit that I do not want to get into right now. There's a lot of complexity to what the hell was going on in World War I. But the thing that's always struck me is that Armistice Day was on the 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month. And that wasn't a coincidence. The powers that be kind of did that on purpose because it was a cool number, and people literally died because of that. And I don't know how many people know that, but if you're ever in a position where you are prosecuting a defensive war against an aggressive and belligerent enemy, and you have an opportunity for peace, and you delay the opportunity for peace, or at least a truce, in order to make a cool number appear somewhere, fuck you. Like, do the right thing. Look at you.
These people had already been the people who had the power to end the war, right? Were also the people who chose to start the war. So already fuck them.
Well, it's complicated because on one hand, a lot of powers were culpable for starting World War I. But on the other hand, I will stand by. In fact, the last time I was in Australia, I ended up getting into an argument with a bunch of strangers about this topic. But I would say that Germany was primarily culpable for the continuance of World War I due to their continuing territorial aggression and then their unwillingness to accede the fact that that did not work. But anyway, Armistice Day is a day, and that's literally the only interesting thing I can think to talk about in my life since nothing's happened since Monday.
Nope, not really.
So let's get right into some anime news. It's actually really... it's news that needed to come. I'm glad it came. I was worried that it wouldn't come. Like, I was actually kind of worried about this, but Katsucon has finally correctly canceled for 2021.
Oh, finally. Oof.
I won't share any rumors of any internal things in detail because they're just rumors, but basically, it is notable that Katsucon waited so long to cancel when other cons that happen around the same time canceled a while ago. Like, I'm surprised it took this long.
I mean, based on what I know, I'm not surprised. I'm just, it's hard. I guess, can you be disappointed if you expect it, like if it met your low expectations?
Yeah, like I kind of stopped going to Katsucon when the staff thing happened, but that was so long ago that
Katsucon has had much drama that I will not go into.
But that drama was like a decade ago. We've never even attended the new reformed Katsucon.
No, I barely know what's going on since that drama with Katsucon, all those many, many years ago. But because of that incident, right, I now in my mind give Katsucon a reputation for being a drama infused con, right? And this piece of information, the whispers that I've heard through who knows what grapevines, that they were doing their best to try to make their event happen instead of, and if I ran a convention, I would be doing my best to not make it happen.
Yep.
Right?
Like the biggest danger right now are these conventions that are nonprofits where the state that they're in is a shitty state and won't order them to cancel, and thus they're, because of stupid laws and stupid contracts, liable.
Which is in the same exact building as Katsucon, right? It's literally the same place and very close to the same time. It held back a little bit. They tried a little bit, but then they're like, okay, no, right? Everyone, most of the staff, I think, that I'm aware of, were like, yeah, no, if you have it, I'm not coming. If you have it, right, etc.
So they did at least say.
Katsucon, look how long Katsucon held out until literally today. They decided to cancel.
They did issue follow-up statements. They said, I'll skip through a lot of this. Please know that there were many logistical and legal steps to take before we could announce this.
That is true. That is not incorrect.
Yep. And we've talked about this a bunch of times, so I'm not going to go deep into it again. But for all of you out there who are disappointed that a con's canceled or who are mad that a con is not canceled yet, the thing to bear in mind is that contract law and the way this works in America is really, really stupid. And
I'm sure it works.
People are basically punished for doing.
Every country on Earth has contracts, right?
Oh, yeah. But American contracts, in particular, part of what's going on is that America did not handle COVID well. That is an understatement because Republicans were in power. But as a result, not only is COVID not calming down to a steady state, it's rising everywhere in the world, but it is rising at a catastrophic rate in America.
Maybe we saw that coming. We were in the summer, we were like, yeah, it's going to be bad when it gets cold again. And we were right.
Yep. A lot of things opened up.
I didn't want to be right, but we're right.
Yep. Now, the tricky part is a lot of people are saying, oh, we'll just go online. Cons trying to go online. But I got to tell you, I've been involved in a lot of online cons up to this point. They're doing their best. However, online cons do not present a compelling story for most of the people who would attend a con.
Right. Online cons are a thing, right? But basically, they're just, and even if you do all the best stuff that you can do at the online con,
you can have a bunch of panels and some Discords to hang out in.
Right. You are not making something that replaces the in-person con or serves the same purpose. You are just, doing what you have a company and you're doing what you can with your resources plus the internet to make money and engage your audience, right? Yep. But you are not replacing the thing you actually do.
And that's why, I think, I hope Katsucon does try to do something online. I like that cons are doing this because they're basically doing it, 1, to keep their brand afloat, 2, to give their staff something to do, and 3, just to, do something for the community they work with. Hey, if you run a con, usually you're running it because you want a cool thing to happen. Why not do the coolest thing you can do under the circumstances? But it is basically impossible to charge any amount of money for an online con, except in rare circumstances.
Depends. Yeah.
Yep. And online cons do cost money to run for a lot of reasons. So we'll see what happens. But I just don't think there's going to be any cons in 2021 the way America's going right now.
Who knows?
So if at least the other thing that I can say is I was scrolling through all these tweets. Very few people are mad about this. Everyone seems to be taking this the right way, which is actually very heartening compared to how some people reacted to other cons being canceled last year. Well, earlier this year. God damn. Anyway.
So, tiny news here, right? So, we did a GeekNights episode on season 1 of Beastars.
Which is guess what? Anime. Beastars is great.
It's pretty good. And season 2 we knew was coming eventually, but now we know it's coming January 5th. So, January 5th. And you know how Netflix do? Every episode's going to be there all at once, right? So, on January 5th, you'll be able to watch all of Beastars season 2.
I'm excited. I like this giant snake guy we're looking at here.
Yeah, I was wondering about, those kinds of animals, right?
Yeah, but especially because this snake is gigantic.
Yep. All right. Other tiny news, right? So there's an anime called Venus Wars that was a big deal in the US in the 90s, late 90s. It was it was a Sci-Fi Channel. Was it actually on Sci-Fi Channel?
It was
I
on
think it
Sci-Fi
was.
Network. I'm pretty sure because
Yeah.
I remember
But it
seeing
was
it
one of
there.
those few anime that were dubbed and in the U.S. early.
I rented it from Blockbuster and copied that VHS tape.
How notable and good is it really? Right? If it wasn't for the fact that it was one of those few anime that was distributed in the U.S. in those days, would it even be known today?
You know what? It's interesting. I really liked it as a kid, and it was good, but it basically doesn't have an ending. Like, it's a kind of one of those real war stories. Like, take a little bit of Akira aesthetics, not the crazy stuff, but just like the bike stuff, coupled with some little bit of mech stuff, but more like big tanks, and make it a Red Dawn situation. A bunch of punk kids trying to fight against this occupation. Like, it's kind of a real war story, but the end just doesn't fucking go anywhere. Like, this movie just ends on nothing.
So anyway,
did we ever review it?
No, we talked about reviewing it several times, but we only had a video CD that we got for free at a con somewhere.
The only mention on our site about Venus Wars is in the out of date, I forgot this existed, about Rim page.
Anyway, so why does Venus Wars make your About Rim page?
When he was 9, he saw his first anime, Vampire Hunter D, Robot Carnival, Project A-ko, Venus Wars.
Okay, anyway, so by this show, Sentai Filmworks has licensed rescued it from wherever it was. So it's going to be available to watch again easily soon now. I don't know exactly what date.
Pretty exciting, actually. Like, yeah, I'm glad it's
getting... the article and read it. So, regardless of whether this thing's any freaking good or worth watching in the year 2020, it does have a significance to the history of anime in the United States only, and may be worth the time it takes to watch a single movie just to know what the deal was. But yeah, it's going to be easy to do that soon, or maybe even now. Click on the article, get the date. I don't know.
Yep, it's got a few like really good iconic scenes. Like there's a scene with the reporter and her camera that's really tense, but just don't expect this movie to end.
Right. In some other news, we got a good news, bad news here from maybe the best anime distributor / publisher. I don't know what they count as in the US.
Why are these two newses on the same page?
Because they're both Discotek. Discotek made 2 announcements. It was a single press release from Discotek announcing 2 things they're doing. So the first thing Discotek is doing, we'll do bad news first, right? Is there is an OAV, an OVA, kind of an not super old, but kind of old one. And they're re-releasing it. And it is called Kiss X Sis. And you're probably thinking, listen to that name of that anime. And thinking about what is an anime called Kiss X Sis about?
Well, it's either Hunter x Hunter, like Hunter x Hunter kind of situation, or it's incest porn.
It is absolutely incest porn. This anime is so bad. This is like, we make fun of a lot of animes, especially when we're judging animes.
Yeah.
About we get a whiff. And we're like, stay away from this. It's like, this.
I feel like I say Kiss X Sis sometimes as like, oh, this is going to be a Kiss X Sis situation.
This is worse. I think Kiss X Sis is worse than like Chubra. This is like,
oh, for sure, 100%. Chubra is
right?
Positively tame compared to this bullshit.
In fact, there are things that are just like, actual hentai, right? That are less distasteful than Kiss X Sis, right? Because you have an actual hentai where like people are having consensual sex. It might be drawn in a way that's objectifying people and has other problems with it, right? It's not perfect. But Kiss X Sis is this dude has 2 sisters, literal sisters, who want him
technically stepsisters.
Right, and I'm pretty sure these people are too young, I'm guessing, right?
Well, I mean, it's anime, so...
I have not looked into that many details. I just know enough that's all I know, and that's enough to know this is the worst thing ever. Why are they bringing this back?
But I guess they like the ad copy, like the copy from the press release, like specifically calls it out as a taboo-breaking love blooming. Like, yeah,
that's what it is.
They know what it is. They're marketing it to the people who are into this.
Having to be aware of the existence of Kiss X Sis is the price we have to pay for Discotek to also announce they are re-releasing one of the best Lupin movies, the Miyazaki one, the
one that's not like any other Lupin movie.
That's right, but it's still amazing. The most famous one, Castle of Cagliostro is getting released again, this time on a UHD Blu-ray, which is 4K Blu-ray. Right? So you can wait for someone to rip that. And basically, they have, unlike a lot of other things they try to re-release where they can't get, like, Project A-ko, we can't find the material.
We're literally using this laser disc.
Exactly, right? It's not one of those situations. This is like, they have all kinds of material from this. In fact, it's going to include original, like, Japanese 7.1 audio that they have, right? For ultra surround sound and shit. So this is probably going to be, all indications, the ultimate home release. Like, you cannot beat this short of going to a theater, and maybe even going to a theater with film wouldn't be as good, maybe, right? As what they are about to release, like the ultimate edition of this anime. So, I personally don't buy physical media, but if you do, or if you can get a pirated rip of this or whatever, it's coming, and that's exciting.
Yeah,
time to give it a rewatch.
We're living in an era where a lot of anime is getting remastered and re-released, basically at the best possible quality that is possible. Possible. I said that a bunch of times.
All right, so that's excellent news. And I just want to mention this one other thing. I don't know if we've ever judged this show. I've never seen it. I don't know if there's a manga about it. I think there might be.
I don't think we judged it because I would remember this title.
Yeah, so I basically, I think we might have seen the title in Japanese, but basically there's an anime, maybe manga. I don't know. I have to go to Wikipedia and Google it. I didn't do that before the show. I'm sorry, but there's an anime that's coming, and all I know about it is the synopsis of the plot. And the synopsis of the plot, it doesn't seem like it's gonna be a great all-time anime, right? I'm not gonna lie and be like, oh, this is gonna be amazing. But the concept of the show seems so fun that I'm gonna, like, it makes me want to go check it out. So here's the show is called in English, Suppose a Kid from the Last Dungeon Boonies Moved to a Starter Town. So this is obviously, one of those the shows where the world is a fantasy world that works like an RPG.
This kid's basically Takumi from Initial D.
Right. It's a world where it's a fantasy world. It's not a video game thing, but it's where the world works the way an RPG works, the same way as like Delicious in Dungeon, where the world works the way an RPG works, even though it's not about real people in the real world going into a game. It's just a world that works the way a game works. And in this world, there's this tiny little kid, right, who's mad weak. He's so weak compared to like all his friends and family. He's just so sad and weak, right? So he leaves his home, and he goes to like the starter tutorial town of the world, right? Wherever that is.
Let's go to Canaria, and I'm gonna go fight Garland. That's a sensible adventure for parties level 1 to 3.
Right, he moves to Canaria, right, to where level parties 1 to 3 go, and it just turns out that where he comes from is a village that is sitting right next to, directly adjacent to, the most dangerous final boss dungeon in the entire world.
Like, so basically the Tomb of Horrors is right there.
Right, so he was the weakest kid in his town, so weak that he left and moved away because everyone else was so much stronger than him. And he goes to the tutorial town, but in which he is basically god tier, but he looks like a little kid, right? So just that concept is such an anime manga concept, right? You can't. It's like if you just told me that plot, I would say that plot's definitely an anime plot. There's no way that's something else.
I love the title. Like the title of the anime is quote, "Suppose a kid from the Last Dungeon Boonies moved to a starter town."
Yes, and it's like, wow, that seems like not going to be the greatest show, but it seems like it could be a lot of fun if they don't spend too long on battles. That could be a really fun show.
It has a little bit of a like. It could be like Gokudo. If anyone remembers Gokudo, I like Gokudo.
Right, so I'm kind of interested based on just the concept alone. I want to give this show a chance and see what the deal is. It might be funny.
Yeah. So in another,
I just thought I'd tell people it exists.
Another small news, if you didn't see, as we know, HBO is bringing out one by one hour-long Adventure Time continuing specials set throughout different...
Did we do an episode? We did an episode of the BMO one, right?
Yeah, we did. So the next one's coming, the Marceline and Bubblegum one, Obsidian. They just dropped.
I thought that would be the final one, but I guess not.
Yeah, the final one is supposedly just Finn and Jake again.
Yeah, I thought that,
I also wouldn't be shocked if they make more after these 4. They seem to be doing well.
See how many people, they'll do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, but Distant Lands, Obsidian, we have the trailer for it. And remember in the beginning when Marceline first gets introduced and she's like, oh, I was on vacation, and it shows like hula hooping in some lava? Pretty sure the place with the lava is the place that they go to in this one. Because there's the lava and the dragon and like the crystal glass people.
But the fact that they're together means it's not a story about Marceline's vacation. It definitely takes place after the end of Adventure Time. Based on the trailer,
based on the trailer, it like 90% it takes place after the end of the show, or 100%. It takes place possibly during that brief era where Marceline and Bubblegum were like dating, but like the Candy Kingdom wasn't fully formed. It's not clear.
I don't think that's what it is.
Pretty sure it just takes place at the end.
Yes, I'm pretty sure this takes place after the end of the TV show, unlike the BMO one, which takes place
well, spoiler
before.
To say when that one takes place.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
But the BMO one was great, so I'm actually really excited about this one.
The trailer for this one actually makes it look like it's going to be, I don't know, I want to say better, but like it goes harder.
I think so. Like it starts with like Marceline and Bubblegum are definitely in a committed direct relationship. Like they're not dancing around that like they had to in the early days of Adventure Time.
This one's going hard. So if you're an Adventure Time fan, it's good news.
I mean, they're going to fight a dragon. There's a very like direct narrative here. The BMO one was very like interesting and told a story around the edges. This one I think is just going to be a direct Marceline goes and fucks up this dragon via confronting trauma in some fashion.
Yep. Okay.
All right. I think it's time for things of the day. But anyway, things of the day. What do you got?
So I'm going to continue my tradition of using things that don't match the GeekNights day for thing of the day, right? So I found out about this like a while ago, actually, and it was just so interesting. Apparently, people say that there are some authors and writers out there, prominent ones, most notably the Game of Thrones guy, although I don't know if he can call himself a writer because what has he written recently?
Yeah.
Right? The R.R. Martin, whatever, old weird guy, who still to this day do their writing, not with, pen and paper. They're not going that old school, right? Not with Microsoft Word, like some new one, but specifically Word Perfect for DOS. Right, or some sort of older word processor from that brief period of time when word processors were still complex and fully featured. They were beyond text editors, right? But not ridiculously full of features, which I guess happened maybe Microsoft Word 95 maybe was around the time where they really went ridiculous with the word processor and cluttered it up with a million
I remember
things.
working writing documents in these early eras of word processing. In fact, I remember writing an essay on an actual non-computer, like a word processor where the screen was 4 rows of basically LCD looking things.
I tried to go look to see if anyone A still made one of those, or B if you could get old ones that
I saw some people are making some modern ones, but they're running Raspberry inside of them or something.
Yeah, they're not actually, anyway. The point is that, do you actually, it's a lot of hassle, right, to go do that. We need an old DOS computer. It's so here is a project actually that, it's called, what's it called?
Word Perfect for DOS, updated,
right? And it's a whole set of instructions whereby you can get Word Perfect for DOS 5.1, 6, 6.1, or 6.2 to run on a modern computer. And they even have tools where you can convert between docx format to WordPerfect format to get your files saved and loaded back and forth. You can print. You can get the clipboard will work. You can copy and paste into it, right? They have all this stuff working. It's pretty impressive. I didn't feel like going through the hassle of doing it, but it really appeals to me in a strong way, not because I want to use specifically old ass WordPerfect for DOS, but that exact time period, the word processors that came out then, right, had this exact feature set of, having enough features that typing is, lovely and pleasant, and you're not missing anything, but there isn't a whole bunch of stuff like getting in the way, right? It's like I know personally, it's just
Now, I
me.
would
It's
argue
like
those things don't get in the way of anyone with basic discipline, but
maybe, but it's like I just know that psychologically speaking, right? If I go to type something, like let's say I'm writing like essay, a long form text of some kind. If I do it in a text editor, that's no, like Vim. It's like that doesn't cut it, right? Vim doesn't format the
yeah,
text in
do
any
it
way. You
directly in
can't.
LaTeX.
Yeah, you can't do headers or anything. Yeah, I could do it in LaTeX if it would, but LaTeX only looks that way after you're done typing it, not
Yep.
while you're typing it, right? So, you have to type some, if you're using like Lex or something, you got to type in the weird LaTeX language or whatever. That's not pleasant either, right? But if you're going to use like the newest Microsoft Word, right? Or even Google Docs, you go to try to type a long thing in Google Docs, and it's actually not, it sort of gets in the way a little bit, right? It's like, you're typing and you get this formatting and it's popping up with like spell checks and all, it's like,
What fucking word do you have set up? I don't have any of these problems.
anyway, the point is, I'm just saying, psychologically speaking, right, is, there's less, my mind is less focused on just the content of what I'm writing because it's being distracted in some way.
Oh, no, I'm just giving you shit partly because the person who made this website is definitely like you and like has particular. Did you click on the link they have for, quote, the fact why some people use a DOS era word processor? Did you?
No, I did not. I did not read that. What does it say?
Oh, so if you click on that, it says everything is explained here. If you click on that, it takes you to the XKCD about how DOS is fine. And that's it. It's a very... But I guess what you're missing is that there are modern applications that are designed for things like I am writing a novel or an essay that are limited to the functions you would need that are useful for that specific purpose, like chapter outlines or plot outlines or citations.
There are, but
But
also,
are otherwise
I
minimal and focused on the content.
Sure. The other thing is that just the aesthetic of
DOS no, yeah, I won't argue with you on the aesthetic. It's partly nostalgia. Like we grew up through all these like Scott and I literally grew up through, like I wrote essays on a typewriter, a mechanical one. You could plug it in because it would automatically do carriage returns, but otherwise it was just a mechanical typewriter. And every era of word processors we've used.
Yep. So like I wouldn't personally use this project mostly because it's too much of a hassle to set
Well,
it
also,
up.
did you read the fact at the bottom? False positives from antivirus software. Do not email me if you get if this says if your antivirus tells you this is malware, use other software.
Yep. But I would really love for somebody to like write a piece of software that was basically a clone of WordPerfect for DOS, except for Windows 10 or
You know what would
iOS
be fun?
or
Make it as a game instead of word processor.
What do you mean as a game?
You make you start an old WordPerfect, and the game happens in there as you try to make a document.
Oh, so it's like you pull a Frog Fractions.
Yeah, you pull a Frog Fractions, but it stays with that aesthetic to the end.
Yeah. So that if this interests you in any way, right? If you just imagine like if you're doing some writing and you think, man, it would be really nice to write it with a word processor a lot like an old WordPerfect. Well, here's how you can do it on your modern computer.
That's neat. So I just did an anime thing. I don't know how many of you have actually ever watched the old Speed Racer, like Speed Racer. But
watched a couple episodes a long time ago.
Speed is kind of a gigantic dick. Like, he is mean. He is cruel. The show isn't, if you've never seen it, it's probably not what you think it is. But one thing that really stands out, and this video sort of encapsulates it, is that Speed kills a lot of people, like, with guns. Like, Speed will just bust out a gun and murder a whole bunch of people. That happens to the point. Yeah, there are bad guys. He's killing, quote, bad guys. There's other videos that highlight other horrible things Speed has done. But I think this video really encapsulates like the mood of what Speed Racer is really like to watch it. But it's a compilation just of him using guns, except one point where he murders someone with his car instead of with the gun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's set to the actual original Speed Racer theme.
Right? In Wacky Races, you've got, the bad guys, right? And they're intentionally running people off the road. But then it's like Yogi Bear I didn't. She runs people off the road too, right? It's not like,
I would
know.
watch a like modern reboot Wacky Races type thing. Bonus
there's a
points if they
modern
played
reboot
it dead
Geek Racer
serious.
if you want to watch that.
Yeah. But anyway, meta moment. The biggest news we got, because we don't have cons, there's no new panels to upload or anything. But we published and officially activated the new GeekNights Community Code of Conduct. I recommend you read it, because if you're listening to this and you're interacting with us in any way, this code of conduct applies to you. It will not be a problem for you unless you are a bad person.
If there is a digital or physical space in which we are organizing the community and social activity, then this rule applies. And if you do not abide by the rule, you will be evicted from the space to the best of our ability. So you should read it.
Yep. If you think you're not a bad person, but you think that we should make some changes to this, it's in GitHub. I know this is the Wednesday Geek Nights, but trust me, GitHub's not that hard to use. But you can submit changes to our code of conduct, and we will review them.
You could just contact us using any means of communication whatsoever to tell us what you think about it. Positive, negative, change this, change that, comment, whatever. It's always subject to change. It's not perfect. So.
Yep, and we'll continue to evolve it as time goes on. But speaking of community, remember, we have a forum. We have a legacy forum, like 12 years of like old posts from the old forum, which was really, really high volume compared to the new forum. Partly because forums aren't as common anymore. Like, they're not as used as they used to be. We got a Discord. We got this YouTube stream right here. There's a million places. Actually, there's like 7 places you can interact with us. But we're in all those places. Just find us, type Geek Nights into whatever text box is in front of you, and unless it's word perfect on MS-DOS, it'll probably take you to one of those places.
We're on the Twitter, Facebook, freaking Spotify.
Don't contact us on Facebook, please.
No, but there is a page there.
It is technically still there.
Yeah. I posted on it once and was like, "Hey, does anyone see this?" And people saw it.
Yep.
I guess. So.
And otherwise, the Geek Nights Book Club book, The Tale of Genji, I think I might just start reading it again every time I poop.
Uh-oh.
So watch out. If I continue this trend for the rest of the week, then you're on notice that I've officially resumed reading.
I'll tell you what, as soon as you read, the first person, right? If you read a page of The Tale of Genji that you have not read before, or I read a page of it that I have not read before, immediately message the other person and say, "I'm reading it right this second." And that way, whoever writes it, as soon as you receive the message, well, now you don't need to send, because
we'll see that's fair, because
we'll know
what I read was I skimmed through what I had read already to remind myself where I was.
Yeah. So, we will that way we'll know exactly who started reading again first, and the other person will then have the hot, the fire on the ass.
Yep. But you're on notice. The fire's not lit yet. I've only done this twice. That's 2 poops worth of reading.
The point is, if one of us finishes it and the other person has not yet finished, or not even started continuing reading it, then every time we get to the meta moment, right? For example, if I finish it and you haven't, and you haven't even started, I'm gonna be like, "I've finished The Tale of Genji, but Rim still hasn't read any since," and that's gonna be bad. So,
shame is a powerful motivator.
That's right. So as soon as one of us starts, the other person has to also start.
So yeah, otherwise, let's go right into it. Deca-Dence. We'll avoid, for the beginning at least, spoiling anything about this show, but we'll spoil a little bit.
That's very difficult, but here, we judged this show for the Crunchyroll Expo.
Yeah, I don't know if that made the cut. I think I might have edited out for time, like our review of the show.
At the time, we said this looks like a proper noun-laden sort of, tropey, very anime kind of anime. I think that's what we said. I don't remember clearly.
But I remember the result was, regardless of those details, that this show is probably fine, but probably not great. This is a show that I will not watch unless there is buzz about it. If other people are talking about it, then I will watch it to see what the deal is.
Yep.
And that buzz happened.
There was buzz.
Like bit by bit, like one of our, like someone on Twitter was like tweeted something that I follow them, and they were like, something Deca-Dence, holy shit. And I was like, all right. Wasn't that the show we judged? And then our friends Judith and Natalie the other day, we were hanging out a few weeks ago, and they were like, "Oh, have you watched Deca-Dence yet?" Oh, I won't say anything. They refused to say anything about the show until I had seen 2 episodes.
Okay, so Deca-Dence is an anime, and it's only 12 episodes long. That's the whole damn show.
Yep,
right?
I'm going to finish it.
So you can think of it as a 4-hour movie, which is actually not significantly longer than, like, I don't know, Lawrence of Arabia, right? It's like it's basically the same. So you can just think of it as, one thing that you're gonna watch all at once, or break it up into 2 parts. Whatever. It's really not long at all.
Yep, I've only watched 4 episodes. Scott's watched the whole thing, but what I'll say is that I see why people were acting the way they were about this show. Why everyone who mentioned it to me always said the same thing. Oh, watch a bunch of it, then let's talk about it. The show is not about what you think it's about.
Yeah, so it is a 12-episode show. It does not appear to have been based on a manga of any kind. It was directed by someone, Yuzuru Tachikawa, who I've never heard of. They might have done something else. I don't know. It was done by Studio Nut. I don't know what else they did. And then it's a Funimation thing. So
holy shit, they did storyboards on Arslan.
Okay. The legal way to watch it in the United States would be on Funimation
or Hulu.
Or Hulu, and the illegal way would be to pirate it. And those are the only ways you're going to see it in the U.S. right now. I don't think it's on a DVD of any kind or a Blu-ray.
I don't think so either. It wasn't on any platform that I had like easily set up. So
yeah, I also don't know if it's dubbed. I watched it subbed.
Yeah, I don't really watch dubbed anime. Like, it just no, you can. I just don't.
Okay, so it's really hard to talk about the show without spoiling, because this show is heavily laden with anime tropes. I'm gonna list so many tropes.
Oh my God.
Eventually we'll get to the point where I list all the tropes it has. But one of the tropes it of course has is our favorite terrible secret of space, where there is like all these questions constantly there in your face while these other things are happening, and they're answering other questions, but there's these big questions like, what's really going on in the world? How does this world really work?
Darker than black. What's outside that wall? Hackside. What's the key of the Twilight?
Right, the characters are in the dark about the truth of the world that they live in. Right, they don't understand the reality that they are under, and neither do you. But it will be revealed to you before it is to them. Right
now, some shows, the end of the show, or at least the end of a season, or like the middle episode of the show, will be like, here is the answer to the terrible secret of space. And if it's the end of the show, that's the plot, or it happens in the middle, and that sets the stage for the final arc of the show. This show kind of reveals the secret, like,
so
by the end of the first episode.
Rim's only seen 4 episodes, right? So they reveal quite a large secret of space in like episode 2.
One that would have been sufficient.
One that would have been a normal anime show-ending reveal of, oh, that's how the world really works, right? And there's only 12 episodes. Right? So they reveal like a bombshell in episode 2, and then they continue to bombshell, right?
Yep. By episode 4, I had been hit with a second bombshell, and Scott's already telling me before the show, oh, you haven't even learned anything yet.
Right. So, for example, in episode 9, in episode 9, they do a thing. There is a climactic event, right, that occurs in episode 9 that would normally be in another anime the end of the show. It is so climactic. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, that's got to be the end of the show, right? There's 3 more episodes left. That is a 12-episode show. Guess what? 25% of the show remains after a climactic event that would end any other normal anime.
Right? You're like Evangelion, like the third impact happens, and then there's still 5 more episodes.
So the only way in a show such as this, where literally you're getting, anything you discuss whatsoever is going to spoil tons. I don't care about spoilers, right? Personally, but I'm not going to spoil it for you because you're going to go watch this, I guess.
I would say
the show in a non-spoiler way if I only speak in generalities and non-specifics.
Yeah. Right? I guess we could at the very we'll see how we want to approach this.
The problem is I can't, I have to, if we go into spoiler territory, I got to let you take the lead.
Well, I guess I'll put it this way. So when I start watching the show, it looks like a pretty standard anime. I was getting some Full Metal Alchemist vibes in terms of like the rough like level of quality, like what the characters are like it just felt like that kind of show, and I was kind of into it. Like if there had been no Terrible Secret of Space at all, I think I would have been interested in the show anyway. I might have actually kept watching. So then at the end of the first episode, it like cuts to a scene that is really weird looking, like a very different style. And it doesn't explain anything, and the episode ends. And you're like, wait, what? What was that? And then episode 2 backs up and explains what the deal is with that, which is already a bigger Terrible Secret of Space than most anime will ever have.
Yes, exactly.
And then it just keeps going from there. And what I like is that the characters cross all these like weird demarcations of what the show looks like and is about. And the characters are themselves pretty compelling and interesting.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of how we can explain the two styles and how significant they are to the show without spoiling it, right? So imagine you had an anime that took place on 2 planets. It's not this one, right? And one planet was drawn in an Art Deco style, right, by one set of artists, and the other planet was drawn in an Art Nouveau style, right, a completely different art style, right? Doesn't even match. You think they're 2 different shows, but they're actually just 2 different places in the same show, right? 2 different sets of characters who live in the different places because they're 2 different alien races. Right, and they're just drawn completely differently, right? Like you hired,
you know what show does that?
Studio Ghibli to draw the first planet, and you hired,
Scott, there's precedent for this. Kiklos does that.
Yeah, you're right. The Spartans are drawn differently than
you've got the stop motion Greek statues, and then you've got the Yamishibai looking 2D like limited animation characters.
Exactly. So that's what's going on in this show, is that there are 2 sets of characters, kind of, right? And they're drawn in completely different art styles. The main characters that you're going to start to see at the start of episode 1 are drawn in a sort of generic anime kind of way for 2020.
Yep, they look good, though. Like, they're good character designs.
Right, and these other characters are drawn like cute little cartoon characters. They look like they're from like a kid's show or something. They're very like they're toys that you would buy at like the Kid Robot store or something. But it's almost like a Roger Rabbit, only instead of live action plus cartoon, it's cartoon plus different cartoon. And they're, together in the same story. And it's kind of, I think for a person who's not an animation person, that just the visual contrast there, I think a non-anime person would have a hard time just seeing past that.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I could see someone having trouble with that.
Right, taking the show seriously, because like the story of the show, it's not a silly story. It's a serious sci-fi action story.
Yeah, like the opening scene, like that's set before you actually start watching the show, almost feels like a scene out of like Jurassic Park.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of what goes down and why, and then
especially the Kid Robot style characters, if they are doing something very serious, but just the way they look, it's not like, say,
Kaburagi, that voice, the main dude's voice is a very good voice.
Yeah, it's not. You'll notice there's a lot of voice actors in this you've heard before. There's in every Studio Trigger anime, there's usually like a really loud, like squeaky, small, usually female character. Right?
Yeah.
Was like, that character that voice actor is also voicing a similar character in this show, even though it is not a Studio Trigger joint. Seeing the characters with the not serious cartoony art style engaging in serious drama, I think will be a miss for a lot of people who are not animation people.
Yep. Also, because the character interactions, like, it actually has a surprisingly low anime tax otherwise. Like, the character designs are normal. Like, the characters interact in interesting ways. The voice acting's really good. There aren't, like, weird fan service bits.
Yep. That's literally I think the only thing that's an anime tax is that. Okay, so the other thing about this show is that it is like I said before, it is laden with anime tropes, right? So the first trope you see immediately is, of course, the trope of, there are secrets in this world, precursors, whatever, right? Obviously, it's terrible secret of space.
Yeah.
There is this thing that has become popular. I think Attack on Titan made it popular, where you fight using some sort of backpack that has like a weapon attached to it. There's been at least 3
Yeah, there's
anime.
a big Attack on Titan vibe when they're actually fighting with the big monsters outside of the city. It's got the trope of we're in a ship or of some kind, and it's us against the world, with like command center in the ship and like deploy, like almost like a Gundam deck starts.
Well, it's more like Macross, right? Where the people live inside the giant robot that is enormous. But the giant robot also transforms and fights, and it has, a bridge, and it's mysterious.
It now has, we have to change things because the most powerful punch is One Punch Man. That doesn't count. The most powerful punch that's not One Punch Man up until this point had been the Big O.
Or I guess Messenger also is a rocket punch.
Yeah, but this is the Big O. Imagine if the Macross ship did the Big O punch, is what happens in the show. I imagine that because that's literally what happens.
The Macross ship has the Daedalus attack because its right arm is actually just like is it a battleship or an aircraft carrier? And it's called the Daedalus, right? They attached it to the Macross. It's not an alien ship like the Macross is.
Yeah.
And then it punches the alien ship right in the front, and then they open the bay in the front of it, and all the robots are just like launch all their missiles after they punch inside through the hull of the enemy, right? Anyway. Macross spoilers.
Yeah, there's a big fight where it starts out like a Gundam or Macross fight where there's like, that trope where there's people in like a command center shouting orders like open the thing, do the thing, communicating with each other.
Right. This show okay. This show also has the trope of a Godzilla movie, right? There's basically an episode where they're fighting a very large monster, like Godzilla sized. And you know how in a Godzilla movie, there's always that part where Godzilla's sleeping and you're waiting, and then right, they're preparing and doing all this stuff, and then wait for it to wake up again, right? It is like there's an episode that's basically a Godzilla movie, the episode.
Yep.
But yeah, it's like I could probably keep going on with there's more and more. It's like you're going to see in this show basically so many other anime just like incorporated together, right? Like these key pieces of just well-trodden territory. But then what they do to just, to make this not just another anime is each and every one of those normal old anime things are obviously combined into one show, which is interesting, right? But B, like we said, with the constant, pushing to the next terrible secret of space after the previous one and the, going further, is they push each and every one of those tropes like farther than you could have imagined it being possible to push them, right? So it's like if I took a lemon, and it's like everyone knows what a lemon tastes like, right? And I squeeze it all out, and you look at that lemon and you say, that lemon is bone dry. That's the Godzilla movie lemon. We've seen everything we could see from a Godzilla movie. There is nothing left to get from there. And we know what it tastes like. It tastes like lemon, right? Deca-Dence comes over and grabs this dry-ass lemon rind and and squeezes it, right? And what comes out is still just more lemon juice. It doesn't taste any different, right? But like a whole extra glass of lemon juice comes out, and you're like, what the fuck? How did you get? Right? It's like that guy slapping the hood of the car. I can fit X whatever in here. It's like somehow they've taken this old hat trope, right, of normal old anime stuff you've seen before, stuff you know so well, and they haven't changed the way it tastes. It's the same old anime. They just got more out of it. And it's like, oh, wow, look at that. How did you do that?
In fact, another thing it does that I appreciate, because Big O did this, though, sort of retroactively, all the little detail, like background details, like really minor stuff. Utena did this too. Anime-looking things that you might just ignore in a show, like, oh, they just drew that thing that way because it's anime. That seems to always end up mattering. Specifically, like there's a scene in the very beginning where the girl is like, I wanna be a fighter out fighting the Godalls like those people over there. And you see those people and they have like radically different colored skin from everyone else. And they're like neon hair and they just kind of look crazy. And the explanation you're given is that, oh, they're part of this warrior case. Like they're a different type of person. And It is true that they're a different type of person, but that is a spoiler. But that detail is just like 2 seconds of screen time.
Well, at least at that point in the show.
At that
But yeah,
point
I
in
can
the show.
say that is, as someone who's seen the whole show, I can tell you there is, I mean, other than, your suspension of disbelief because you're watching a fictional anime in a fantasy sci-fi world,
Yeah.
right? Other than that, it is extremely tight on terms of plot holes, and every single thing you see matters and makes sense.
I
right?
really appreciate that in a show.
There's not a lot of loose thread hanging at the end. I was not left at the end with any questions of like, hey, what about the something? Why
Well, like
didn't
at the
you
end of Full Metal Alchemist, the original show, where we were like, all right, so now what the fuck? You didn't answer like any of my questions.
Exactly. That will not happen with this show. The negative thing I can say about this show is that being 12 episodes, it's good. It moves right along. It moves maybe right. It doesn't feel like it's going too fast. It's just like steadily hitting really hard, constantly. But the characters, other than the two most main characters, all of the other characters are not given a lot of time or development. Ones that get time early get almost no time late. Ones that get time late are not given time early. So it kind of changes over the show which characters are getting more time. And all the characters other than the main ones basically have like one thread that's theirs is very shallow and is, resolved. But it's like, I guess in episode 1, it's like the main character, the girl, has like a friend in school, or like it's an orphanage school, right? And so that's a side character, that school friend from episode 1.
Yeah.
That school friend from episode 1, you see briefly a few times when they interact, a few seconds here and there, and then the plot with that character is wrapped up in a couple scenes of drama, and then that's pretty much it. And you get pretty much that amount of stuff from each character.
Which is a shame because, going back to the sort of Full Metal Alchemist energy, what I like about that show was that the side characters were all great and got a lot of screen time, and you start to like really care about all of them.
Manga pages to work with, right? Here, each side character is very one note. Like, here's their deal. Their deal
Mikey,
is,
the first one.
Yeah, right, exactly. Here's their deal. They get a scene, maybe, right, where you right, to maybe show you who they are, and then at some point their deal gets sort of resolved. And any other time you see them, if they do get more screen time, they're just sort of being who they are, right? So like loud guy who likes to fight. It's like, yeah, he's got a scene that wraps up his shit. He's got an introduction scene, and every other scene he's in, which is quite a few, he's just being a loud guy who likes to fight. He does not developing or have any, interesting things going on. And there's several characters other than the two main ones, but all of the other ones just sort of follow that thing. This is a show that is not about, at least it's about the two main characters, and it's about the plot of the world. It's not about the other characters. They're just sort of filling in, where characters are needed.
Yeah, which is fine because what I've seen so far, the world is plenty of meat. It's like a Thanksgiving buffet where I can't eat everything. It would be too much if it had everything, unless it was just longer. But then it might not hit as hard in terms of the density of the terrible secrets.
Yeah, I think if you made this, that's the thing, is like this show is weird in that if you made it longer, you could give respect to those other characters, some of which could become really interesting and awesome characters if you did like having like just an episode where the main plot doesn't advance, right? But they go fighting some bad guys or something, and you spend that time, developing or learning about some of these other characters in the show. But by having every episode be a heavy plot episode, right, it moves along, right, in a different way. So,
well, you know what? Look, Attack on Titan is a good example of that because that's the opposite of this in that it really, really, really focuses on the characters and like them coming together. And the terrible secrets of space come like once every season. Yeah,
something like that. So yeah, I think that's the balance that they struck here, right? And I think if it wasn't 12 episodes, I don't think I would have watched the whole thing,
Yeah. Unless, imagine if it was just 12 more episodes of continuing Secrets of Space somehow.
That I don't think that could happen. You could do more episodes, but I don't think
Nah.
It ends pretty solidly, right? At least. I think if you wanted to continue this. This, I guess, this isn't spoilers. You would have to go to a faraway place in the same universe. You could not really do much more writing in the same characters, same place, same universe. after the end of this show. You'd have to go to like, another side of another planet, another galaxy, something, something else, right? Anyway, so what would I say about the show as a whole? I don't think it's actually like an A anime.
Yeah, I
I
wasn't
think
feeling
it's
that
like
even from the beginning because I've seen
my
some anime
feeling,
recently.
my feeling is that like this is a B+ anime, but because it has unique qualities and because it is so short, only 4 hours long for the whole series, that I think it's actually worth, if you're an anime fan, right, an anime person, there's a lot, if you've already seen all the top tier animes, you got 4 hours to do nothing. You're stuck at home all the time. Why not watch this? It was
Yeah.
perfectly enjoyable. I don't regret spending 4 hours on it.
B+ is the level of like a Scrapped Princess. Like, pretty good
Yeah.
show.
Like this is better than Scrap Princess for sure. But
Ah,
yeah,
you
this is
didn't
like
even watch all of Scrapped Princess.
that's right.
How
But
far
I
did
still
you
think
even get into Scrapped Princess?
it's 4 or 5 episode. I don't really
No.
remember it that well.
I
But
mean,
the
it was
point
all
is,
right.
this is a show that's well worth watching. It will not become a legendary anime of all time, but it's a
I
show.
feel like we might talk about it in a panel someday on The Terrible Secret of Space or like the mid-season flip.
I think it has a lot of. I don't think it has the kind of staying power where it's going to be a show that is like must watch for like everyone's putting it on their lists. But I think it's a show that will sort of, it will come back up. People, right, in discussions, right, it will have some relevance and be brought back up. And someone who's, if you're into anime any deeper than you just watch Akira and Ghost in the Shell and Miyazaki movies, if you're on the next level where you're like an anime fan, this show should be one that you watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm definitely gonna finish it.
And because it's kind of hard to surprise an anime fan who's seen many animes, right? But
Yep. I mean, I'd like Kill La Kill. Yeah, at that point, I'm even like, all right, nothing really surprised me here. I'm just into this.
Yep. So you got 4 hours, Deca-Dence.
It's worth it. Just go watch it. One person left the stream like, all right, I'm just gonna go watch the first 2 episodes to see what the deal is. So,
go ahead.
All right, I think it was a solid show.
Stop.
Stop.
I'm saving the metadata.
My God, I'm so hungry now.